Hi everyone, it's Tiffany Ashton from ClinEssentials. I'm here today to talk about a few tips on Outlook and email management. So, as a clinical research professional who's been in the industry for 18 years, I have received probably thousands, if not close to a million of emails in my lifetime and over the 18 years in the industry. And over those years, I've picked up a tip or two on just how to manage your email volume and to make it manageable so you are able to actually do your work, do the work that comes through the emails, do the works that you need to do, all of those things. And so I am here to share a few tips that hopefully you can find useful. They work for me. And if there's a tip that you're using that I didn't share, you can definitely let us know in the comments because we're here to share best practices, what works well, just how to increase efficiencies amongst clinical research professionals. So this video is for clinical research coordinators, clinical research associates, clinical trial managers, and project managers. And hopefully, if there isn't something that you are aware of, now you are. And this is just what works for me. This is not what could work for everyone, but just to give some guidance if you're new and you're like, wow, I get a lot of emails and I just, what are others doing out there? This is just from my perspective. So I'll go ahead, a couple disclaimers. This mailbox that you see is a testing mailbox. So there's nothing study related, proprietary information, etc. It's a testing mailbox used for training purposes like this. Also, a couple of things that you want to pay attention to. When you are at a company, you want to find out their email policy. Some companies have email policies that every 12 months or every 18 months, the emails are archived. And that means they're sent to a cloud and it's like a server and they're not just easily retrievable because they're in your inbox. You have to like double click and sometimes you have to wait and it's a long time to get your email that you may be looking for. So you want to understand, do they archive emails every so often? And then the other thing is sometimes companies delete emails every so often. So every 12, 18, or 24 months, they may do like a system-wide sweep. So if an email hasn't been opened in 12 months, it gets deleted. And once it's deleted, it's gone. And usually at those companies, if they have that, they have some special criteria that says if you don't want your email deleted, file it here or title it this way or move it in this particular folder. So, not everything is lost, but sometimes there is like a, system that the company has that comes through and just wipes out things every so often. So you want to be mindful of that because I keep everything, every email correspondence that's not, something that is like a blatant, okay, we can get rid of this one. I keep everything. And just imagine coming back and you're like, uh-oh, what happened to that email because it's been deleted per company policy or it's been archived. You want to know that just going forward and just structuring your Outlook to begin with. So those are a couple things. And then eTMF management. Make sure that you are following your eTMF management plan. You may have to file your correspondences every 30 days, every 35 days, upon the final communication, whatever that eTMF correspondence is, you want to make sure that you're following that as well because you don't want to be out of compliance with study documents and or study correspondences that need to be filed in the eTMF. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and get right into some tips. Now, everyone's different, but this is what works for me. I keep items in my inbox that are either unread or require follow-up. So for instance, if this one, let me just take this one, Sheldon Bowen. This one it's unread right now. And if I open it up And if I open it up and it looks like a marketing, okay, this is not directed to me. It just looks kind of salesy. Um, I can do two things. I can either delete it, or I could file it away, or I could save it for further action. Now, remember, I said I don't really delete anything unless it's a blatant, this is spam. And so for the purposes of this video, I'm going to either save it for later or file it away. So here it is. I'm going to save it for later by flagging it. And to me, because this is my system of email management, I'm keeping this, anything that's flagged, I'm going to come back to, and I have to spend a little bit more time with. About the emails, you want to, filter through as quick as possible. Is there action for me? Yes, no. If it is an action, I'm going to flag it. If there's no action, I'm going to read it and file it in a folder. So let's take this one, for example. This is like a spam filter. So I know that there's no action for me just because I've been through those already. Sometimes you do have to go through each individual email, even if it's a spam filter, just to make sure that there's nothing caught there that you need. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to say that this is something that I don't need to action. I reviewed it, don't need an action, and I'm going to move it over into this folder so get it out of my inbox. And so I'm keeping an eye on, I want to get my inbox down, lower. And so just let's get these things out of here because I want to see what actions that I really have to do. So with that being said, another thing that you want to do is have folders within your inbox. Contracts, expenses, onboarding, IT requests, proof point, that's my spam filter, study timelines, the interim analysis. So everything that comes through email wise, you want to file it somewhere. You want to keep it as a reference point, either because there's no action for you, or once the action is done, you want to put it in the folder so you can refer back to it if needed. So for all studies, I recommend that you have a study specific folder, and then under it you have your sites. So this one says Site 101, Dr. Smith, and then Sam in parentheses. Sam is the study coordinator. And I like that because sometimes you'll get an email from Sam and you're like, Sam, what site is that associated with? And you say, oh, okay, Sam, Dr. Smith, Site 101. Because sometimes you'll get emails that say Site 101. Sometimes you'll get emails that say Dr. Smith. Sometimes you'll get emails from Sam. So this just kind of structuring it helps you be able to file easier. And it does take some time. Sometimes you have to take, a Friday afternoon or a Monday afternoon or some quiet time to set up your inbox. But once it's set up, you can change and tweak as you need it. But for the most part, it's going to be really good. And as a CTM, there's some folders that I always keep as a CTM, like contracts, vendor, timelines, finance department, resourcing, each particular site, maybe data management, just some higher level folders. But as a CRC or a CRA, you may keep different level folders. You may want to get more into, this is this particular site, and these are the queries that need to be resolved at the next visit. Or if you're a study coordinator, you may even have, this is this particular study. This is the patient that had an SAE and we had a lot of correspondence about it. So the sky's the limit on how you want to arrange it, but you should have inbox folders no matter what. So that's there. Now, a couple of things that I will say about the calendar, and you can toggle to the calendar. Have reminders for yourself. And I like to look at work week versus month, but I sometimes come in here and I will say timesheets. Timesheets are due on Fridays, but on Thursday, I'm going to start filling out my timesheet. Or if it's easier for you to fill out your timesheet each day, you can put a recurrence for your timesheet to be filled out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So every day, at that time, you're going to have a timesheet reminder. Same goes to ETMF. If you want to have an ETMF filing reminder to yourself. There's nothing wrong with putting some reminders to yourself. And you can change colors within schedule view. Let's see. There's a way that you can change colors within, oh, here it is. So I'm going to take it off of schedule view. I'm going to go to work week, and then you can change colors. You can change your inbox to be another color, or if you wanted your reminders to be blue versus that green, or pink, or brown, or you can change your colors, because sometimes your meetings will come in a blue color, and then anything that you're doing administrative, you can keep it in a different color. So okay, brown is administrative. That's my thing. But if it comes in blue, that's an actual meeting that I need to attend. So that's just one way that you can set up your calendar. So always have your reminders to yourself. Also, like sometimes you go check SOPs. You want to go in and check SOPs every so often. And so that is on Friday. So if you see, every Friday is pretty stacked with some administrative items, and every other day is just timesheets. So you can set it up whatever works for you. But these are just some tips of what works, helps me. Now let's go back. And I think this is probably the coolest trick that I have recently. There's two things that I want to show you. I want to show you about rules. Sometimes you do want to program rules into your mailbox. So for instance, sometimes you're copied on IVRS alerts, or labs, or anything that's like, you don't necessarily need to review it in real time, but you need to be able to reference it if you ever needed to do it, ever needed to reference it. So for instance, like IVRS alerts, sometimes you are copied on every screening, every screen failure, every discontinuation, every randomization, every visit. That's a lot of alerts, because if you have a 300 patient study that each patient has 15 visits, you're bombarded with just alerts. And so that's where I create this thing called rules. And you go to rules, and I go to create a rule. And I am actually going to, it says, if the subject contains quarantine list GoDaddy email encryption, which you see a lot of these emails are. So just imagine it's an IVRS alert and you're like, oh, there's so many of these. I am going to say, if the subject contains quarantine list GoDaddy email encryption, I am going to move it to, and it says, what folder would you like to move it to? And I'm going to say proof point. And then it's going to, any email that has that title. And you can also do the sender. So any email that's coming from a specific email address, you can check this box. But I am going to do it this way. Any subject, any email that has this subject, I'm going to move it to this folder. And watch what happens. I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to say the rule quarantine list GoDaddy email encryption has been created. Run this rule now on messages already in the current folder. I'm going to say yes. It's going to clean up my inbox really quick. Look how it's cleaning it up. Wow. And just like that, it just moved 93 emails that were all the same message, the same subject line, and that's just my spam filter. It just moved all of those to this folder, and it has them marked as unread. So you didn't lose the fact that they were unread. So you can still come in here and see which ones you haven't read, but look how it just cleaned up that inbox so quickly. It just cleaned it up. It's like, boom, done. And just imagine if that was like a lab, like labs, sometimes labs for particular sites, I'll do that same create rule, but I will make sure that any labs with site 101 in the subject line goes to this one-on-one folder. And so it puts them over there. Now, if there was ever a question on labs, I could go in here and I can look for the lab report for that particular patient in question. So it doesn't lose it, but it's, it just helps filter it down a little bit. Now I think this is something that someone recently taught me. And I thank that person because it made a world of difference. And you can see this particular rule when you have a lot of emails in your inbox. And to make this work correctly, I'm going to move a couple of these proof points back into my inbox because I want you to see the power of what this can do. Okay, so you're going to go to the view, and this is what I'm going to show you. It's a color coordination in your inbox. So anything that's directed to you, if it says Tiffany in the email, it's going to make it be another color. So it stands out to you in the inbox. So like right now, everything is blue. And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I have to literally go through each one of these. But what I'm going to show you is going to make everything that's directed to Tiffany, let's just say pink. And so I'm going to easily be able to see things that are directed to me, and that helps me prioritize over those that maybe I'm just copied on and I don't need to action. So you go to view and you go to view settings. And this is where you go to conditional formatting. And you need to add a new rule. So I'm going to add a rule, and this rule is going to be called Tiffany. And here you can select whatever font and color that you want to speak to you. So let's just say I'm going to use this font. Anything coming through, I'm going to make it a fuchsia color. And you can even bold it to make it even bold. And then I'm going to just hit OK. And you have to make sure it's checked. And whatever the rule is, and you want to make sure that you have your font and everything selected. Then, and this is the key, you want to go to condition. And it says search for the words Tiffany. And you want to select subject field and message body. So if it's in the subject line and it says Tiffany in the subject line, or if it's Tiffany in the body of the email, it's going to make it that pink fuchsia color. So that's important because if I just leave it as subject field only, it's only going to alert me if Tiffany is in the subject line. And that's not really what we see. We usually see our name in the message body. Then you could also, so you can do it, you can just leave it like this. But if you wanted to take it a step further, and maybe your manager's email, you want to put it in there. You could say that anything from my manager, and this is my manager's email, or anyone from my clinical trial manager, or my project manager, or from my line manager, or from my site director, I want to put it in a special font, or put it in this fuchsia so it talks to me so I can get back to my manager quickly. You can do that too. So I'm going to do two things. There's two different conditions we can do. So I'm going to just stop with this one. Search for words Tiffany. And then in the subject field and message body, I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to hit OK. You see how these just turned to pink? Because it says, hi, Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. So that just told me that out of all of these emails in my inbox, these two are directed to me. How cool is that? How cool is that tip? Now, imagine you had 100 emails and you have this filter on. Every time something comes in and it has hi Tiffany or hi your name in it, it's going to always show up as pink. So you know how to, if you only have a couple minutes in between meetings, quickly go to the pinks. Okay, these are the ones that were directed at me. Now you still have to action them. You still have to clean your inbox for the other items, but it just helps prioritize some of the items that you're like, oh man, this inbox is crazy. Which one is actually for me? This rule does it. It helps you. Anything that says, hi, Tiffany, it flags it for me. So that's one way. Now, I want to go back and I need to grab this email address. The reason being, remember how you could do that second rule? And we're going to do the step again. You're under view settings. You go to conditional formatting. And I'm going to add a new one. And I'm going to say anything from manager. And I'm just going to say manager, but I'm going to, and you can put whatever you want. Anything from this CTM, anything from this person. I'm going to pick, now you can pick another font. You can pick the same font. But what you want to do is make sure your color is different. So let's do a red one. So the system, bold, red. So we're different from fuchsia. And then you want to go to condition. And I'm going to actually just put from in this. This is going to be the condition here. I want to put, and I might have to take out, I'm going to write this down because that extra that they have at the beginning, it may mess it up. Protect.net. So just put the email address in there. So I'm going to do not reply at cloudprotect.net. And from this one, so anything coming from my manager, and this is the manager's email, but I just put this fake one in there. And then you could also do where I am the only person on the to line or on the to line with other people. Because sometimes that's, they email all of the CRAs and you wanted to flag it because you're on the to line. So you wanted to see it. It's coming from your manager, but it's not necessarily only directed to you. They may say it's coming from your manager, but it says to the CRAs. And it won't fall into that to Tiffany because they didn't spell out your name. So it wouldn't be caught in that other filter. But if it's coming from your manager and then anything from your manager where you're on the to line with other people, it's going to catch it. So let's do this. And let me play and let me do this. And the reason why I had to look at that really quick, because it doesn't have me on the to line in these proof points. So you do have to change it. And I'm just going to change it just slightly. I'm going to go back here because I'm going to modify it. I want a manager. I want to do the condition. I'm just going to say anything that comes from my manager, I'm going to look at. Doesn't matter if I'm on the to line or not. Okay. You see how I just changed all those to red? Now, isn't that cool? So you have a rule for your manager or a rule for somebody that you need to respond to quickly. It could be your sponsor. It could be your counterpart at the sponsor. Hey, when Sue emails me, I got to get to Sue quick. So I need something to jump out that Sue is talking to me. You put that filter for Sue. And then you also have another filter for Tiffany. And as you see, sometimes if you have too many rules and the rules are overlapping, it's not going to work. So for instance, if I had put one for Sue as my manager, plus Tiffany in if it says Tiffany in the body and Sue as the manager, these are overlapping rules because one of them is a part of the pink rule and the other one's a part of the red rule. So you may have to, this is a part of your inbox setup, figure out your rule, and then you'll be able to, see how you need to change it. But there's YouTube videos that can walk you through if you need additional guidance here. It's called conditional formatting. That's the word, but look it up on YouTube if you need further details. But what I just showed you can make the world of difference on a heavy inbox. And so hopefully that was insightful. And I know it blew my mind the first time I did it, and I've been using it ever since. And it's almost like your secret weapon, because they're like, how are you getting through these emails so quickly? And you're like, I got a little filter on it. So I know when you're talking to me, and then I know when it's coming from, my manager, I can get back to them very quickly. So it's like a secret weapon. And someone told it to me, and I'm sharing it with other clinical research professionals. This can work for study coordinators, for CRAs, CTMs, project managers, literally anyone in any field this could work for. But for our clinical research professionals, where I know there's a lot of emails coming back and forth, you want to be ahead of the curve wherever you can. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. The next one, we'll talk about some Excel tips and tricks that you may not be aware of, especially in the clinical research industry. So we'll share that, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.